The dust tasted like metal and blood. Day One ran through the ruins of what used to be a Valthine settlement, his medical bag bouncing against his hip. Explosions echoed behind him, too close for comfort. His squad was already retreating back to the extraction point, their mission a failure. The enemy had known they were coming. He should have been running faster. He should have been right behind Taman and the others. But then he heard it, a small sound that cut through the chaos of war. A child crying. Day One stopped. Every instinct screamed at him to keep moving. His training told him to ignore it. The enemy was everywhere. Staying meant capture or death. But his feet would not move forward. They turned instead, carrying him toward the sound. He found her under a collapsed wall, a small alien child no more than 6 years old by his guess. Her skin was pale blue, her hair silver like moonlight. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. She was pinned beneath metal and concrete, her small hands pushing uselessly at the debris. Next to her lay an adult Valthine female, unconscious but breathing. The resemblance was clear. Mother and daughter. Day One's radio crackled. Taman's voice came through, urgent and angry. Day One, where are you? We need to move now. He clicked the radio once to acknowledge but did not respond. His hands were already moving, checking the child's injuries. She looked up at him with wide violet eyes filled with terror. She said something in her language, words he could not understand, but fear needed no translation. It's okay, Day One said softly, even though she could not understand him either. I'm going to help you. He worked quickly, clearing the debris piece by piece. The child whimpered with each movement, but he was careful not to cause more pain. His medical scanner showed internal bleeding. Not immediately fatal, but serious. She needed treatment soon. The mother stirred, making a low sound. Day One glanced at her, keeping his movement steady. If she woke fully and thought he was hurting her child, things would get complicated. Valthine females were known to be fierce protectors, stronger than human males. He finally freed the child's legs and pulled her gently from the rubble. She clutched at his uniform with small hands, her body shaking. Day One reached for his medical supplies, preparing an injection that would stop the internal bleeding and ease her pain. That was when he heard the footsteps. Heavy boots on broken stone. Valthine soldiers moving through the ruins in a patrol pattern. Day One's heart hammered in his chest. He looked around desperately for cover, but there was none. He was in the open, holding an enemy child with an unconscious enemy soldier beside him. There was no way to explain this that would keep him alive. The patrol rounded the corner. 6 Valthine warriors armed and armored. They stopped when they saw him, weapons rising instantly. Their leader stepped forward, a tall male with scars across his face and cold eyes that held no mercy. The commander barked something in Valthine. Day One did not need translation to understand. Drop the child. Step away. He tightened his hold on the little girl instead. She buried her face against his chest, her small body trembling. The commander's eyes narrowed. He spoke again, slower this time, and Day One's damaged translator caught fragments. Human, enemy. Let go, child. Day One shook his head. She needs medical attention. She's hurt. The commander looked at the child, then at the unconscious female. He said something to his soldiers, and one of them responded with words that made the others laugh. It was not a kind sound. Then the commander said something that Day One's translator managed to catch fully. War orphans drain resources. Better to end it now. Horror flooded through Day One as he understood. They were going to kill her, their own child. Because she was injured and her mother was down, she was considered useless, a burden. 2 soldiers stepped forward, weapons pointed at the child in his arms. Day One did not think. He turned his body, putting himself between the weapons and the little girl. He wrapped himself around her, making his body a shield. No, he said firmly. You'll have to go through me. The commander's face twisted with anger. He shouted an order. Pain exploded across Day One's back as a rifle butt slammed into his spine. He gasped but did not let go of the child. Another blow hit his shoulder. Then his ribs. Each impact drove the air from his lungs, sent agony shooting through his body. But he held on. The child screamed, a high-pitched sound of terror. Day One felt her tears soaking through his uniform. He curled tighter around her, protecting her head and chest with his arms and body. Another strike hit the back of his head. His vision went white, then dark at the edges. Blood ran into his eyes. He could not see clearly anymore, could not hear anything except a high ringing sound and the child's crying. But he did not let go. Through the haze of pain, he felt the child being pulled at, hands trying to tear her from his grasp. He fought back weakly, his strength fading. He had failed. He was not strong enough. Then suddenly the pulling stopped. The blows stopped. A roar filled the air, primal and furious. Through his blurred vision, Daewon saw a pale blue shape moving with lethal speed. The mother had awakened. Lyrana moved like death itself. Her hands were claws, her face twisted with rage. She tore into the soldiers with savage efficiency. One went down with his throat opened. Another fell with his neck broken. The other scrambled back, firing wildly. She was wounded herself, bleeding from multiple injuries, but she fought with the desperate strength of a mother protecting her young. The commander tried to organize a defense, but Lyrana was everywhere at once. Fast, brutal, unstoppable. The remaining soldiers broke and ran. The commander hesitated for one moment, then followed. Their retreat echoed through the ruins, growing distant. Silence fell, broken only by harsh breathing. Daewon lay on the ground, still curled around the child. He could not move. Everything hurt. His blood mixed with the dust beneath him. Gentle hands touched his shoulder. He flinched, expecting more pain. Instead, he was carefully rolled onto his back. The child was lifted from his arms with tender care. Lyrana knelt over him. Her violet eyes, so like her daughter's, stared down at him with an expression he could not read. Confusion, anger, and something else. Something that looked almost like wonder. She spoke in her language, words flowing too fast for his broken translator. But her tone was not hostile. Her hands checked his injuries with surprising gentleness for someone who had just killed with such violence. The child sat nearby, crying and calling out. Lyrana responded with soft sounds, reassuring her daughter while continuing to examine the human who had protected her. Daewon's vision darkened again. He tried to stay conscious, knowing that passing out now might mean never waking up. But his body had reached its limit. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Lyrana's face, watching him with those strange violet eyes. In them he saw something that war had tried to destroy but could never fully kill. Recognition. One parent to another. One protector to another, understanding. Daewon woke to pain and darkness. His entire body felt like one giant bruise. When he tried to move, agony shot through his ribs and back, forcing a groan from his lips. His eyes struggled to focus, seeing only shadows and dim light. Where was he? The last thing he remembered was the Valthine patrol, the beating and the mother fighting to protect her child. His child. No, not his child. The enemy's child. But in that moment, she had just been a child who needed help. As his vision cleared, he realized he was in a cave, not a natural one, but something that looked like it had been carved or expanded long ago. Soft blue light came from chemical glow sticks placed around the space. His medical bag sat nearby, several items removed and used. Someone had treated his wounds. A small sound made him turn his head. The Valthine child sat against the far wall, watching him with wide violet eyes. She held something in her hands, turning it over and over nervously. When their eyes met, she went very still. Daewon tried to smile, though it hurt his split lip. "Hey there," he said softly. The child did not respond, just kept staring. She looked better than before. The cut on her head had been cleaned and bandaged. Someone had changed her torn clothing. Movement in the cave entrance drew his attention. The mother entered, carrying something that looked like water containers. She stopped when she saw he was awake, her body tensing immediately. They stared at each other across the small space. Daewon did not move, barely dared to breathe. This female had killed 2 armed soldiers with her bare hands. If she decided he was a threat now, there was nothing he could do to stop her. Lyrana set down the containers slowly. She reached to her belt and pulled out a small device. His translator. She had repaired it. She spoke, and this time the words came through clearly, though with a mechanical quality. "Why did you protect Kiva?" So the child had a name, Kiva. It was pretty. "She was hurt," Daewon answered simply. "She needed help." Lyrana's eyes narrowed. "She is Valthine. You are human. We are enemies." "She's a child," Daewon said. "Children aren't enemies. They're just children." Lyrana studied him for a long moment. Then she moved closer, kneeling beside him to check his bandages. Her hands were surprisingly gentle. "Your people killed my mate," she said quietly. 6 months ago. An attack on our supply convoy. He died protecting others like you protected Kiva." Daewon's chest tightened. "I'm sorry. Why?" Her voice was sharp. "Did you kill him?" No, but I'm sorry you lost him. I'm sorry this war took him from you and your daughter. She paused in her work, her hand still on his bandaged ribs. You speak like you understand. I do. The words came out before he could stop them. I had a younger sister. She was 12 when the Valthine attacked our colony in the early days of the war. She didn't make it to the shelters in time. Lyrana's hands pulled back. She sat back on her heels, studying his face. You hate us then? I hate war, Day One corrected. I hate what it does to families. To children. I became a medic because I got tired of watching people die. Across the cave, Kiva made a small sound. She had moved closer without either adult noticing, drawn by curiosity. She said something in Valthine, looking between her mother and the strange human. Lyrana responded, her tone softer when speaking to her daughter. The child nodded and moved even closer until she was right beside Day One. She held out the object in her hands. It was one of his ration bars, the wrapper torn open. She wants to share with you, Lyrana translated. You protected her. Now she wants to care for you as Valthine children are taught. Day One felt his throat tighten with emotion. He took a small piece of the ration bar even though every movement hurt. Thank you, Kiva, the child smiled. It was the first time he had seen her smile. It transformed her whole face, making her look like any human child enjoying a simple moment. Over the next few days, a strange routine developed in the cave. Lyrana went out to gather supplies and watch for patrols from both armies. Day One rested and slowly healed, his enhanced human recovery starting to work now that he had proper care. And Kiva became his constant companion. The child was endlessly curious about humans. She touched his hair, fascinated by its dark brown color so different from her silver. She examined his hands, counting his fingers and comparing them to her own. She brought him smooth stones she found and arranged them in patterns, trying to teach him some Valthine game. Day One taught her simple human words. Water. Food. Friend. She repeated them carefully, her accent strange but understandable. When she managed to say thank you in his language, he praised her, and she beamed with pride. Lyrana watched these interactions with an expression Day One could not read. Sometimes she looked troubled. Other times, something almost like softness crossed her face. One night, fever took him. His injuries had been severe. An infection had set in despite treatment. He drifted in and out of consciousness, caught in nightmares of explosions and screaming. He called out for his sister, trapped in memories of the attack that had taken her. Through the haze, he felt cool hands on his forehead, heard a voice speaking softly in Valthine, words meant to soothe. When he opened his eyes, Lyrana was there, wiping his face with a damp cloth. Your sister, she said quietly. What was her name? Hyejin, he whispered. She wanted to be a teacher. She loved children. Lyrana was silent for a moment. My mate was named Veldan. He was an engineer. He built things instead of destroying them. The war took him anyway. Their eyes met in the dim light. In that moment, they were not enemies. They were just two people who had lost too much to this endless conflict. I should hate you, Lyrana said. Everything I was taught says I should kill you for what your people did. But you don't, Day One said. No. She looked over at Kiva, sleeping peacefully nearby. You took blows meant to kill my daughter. You could have run. You should have run. But you stayed. You protected her with your own body. She turned back to him. I do not understand humans. I do not understand you. I'm not sure I understand it either, Day One admitted. I just knew I couldn't let them hurt her. Lyrana reached out slowly, her hand hovering over his. In my culture there is a word. Kithva, it means soul family. Those bound not by blood but by actions, by choice, by sacrifice. Her hand touched his. What you did for Kiva, it creates Kithva. You are bound to us now, whether you intended it or not. Day One looked at their joined hands. Her skin was cooler than his, her fingers longer and more elegant. But the gesture felt universal. Connection, understanding. I don't regret it, he said. Neither do I, Lyrana replied softly. The fever broke the next morning. Day One woke to find Kiva curled up beside him, using his arm as a pillow. Lyrana sat at the cave entrance, keeping watch. When she noticed he was awake, she nodded slightly. Outside, the war continued. Soldiers from both sides hunted through the ruins, searching for survivors and enemies. But inside this small cave, something different had taken root. something that war had tried to kill but could not destroy. Hope, understanding, and the beginning of something that might, against all odds, become family. Kiva stirred, opening her eyes. When she saw Daiwan awake, she smiled and said in careful human words, "Good morning, friend." Daiwan smiled back despite the pain. "Good morning, Kiva." Lyrana watched them both, and for the first time since her mate had died, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, not all humans were monsters, and maybe peace was not impossible after all. The sound of engines in the distance woke them all. Lyrana was on her feet instantly, moving to the cave entrance with silent grace. Daiwan sat up carefully, his healing ribs protesting the movement. Kiva pressed close to his side, her small hand gripping his uniform. "Both sides are searching," Lyrana said quietly, peering out at the gray morning sky. "Human dropships to the north. Valthine ground units to the south. They are closing in on this area." Daiwan's heart sank. His squad would be looking for him. Standard protocol was never to leave a soldier behind, dead or alive. The Valthine military would be hunting for Lyrana and Kiva, wondering what had happened to their patrol. "We need to move," he said, forcing himself to stand. Everything still hurt, but he could walk now. He had to be able to walk. Lyrana shook her head. "You are not strong enough for a long journey, and Kiva cannot move quickly through rough terrain. Then what do we do? Wait here until they find us?" She was silent for a long moment, conflict clear on her face. "I could signal my people. Turn you over as a prisoner. That would explain everything." "They would execute me," Daiwan said simply. It was not an accusation, just a fact. "Yes," Lyrana agreed. "But Kiva and I would be safe." Kiva made a distressed sound. She understood enough to know they were talking about being separated. Her grip on Daiwan tightened, her violet eyes filling with tears. Lyrana looked at her daughter, and something in her expression softened and hardened at the same time. "No, I will not do that. We stay together." Before Daiwan could respond, a new sound cut through the air. A single set of footsteps moving carefully through the rocks outside. Someone had found them. Lyrana moved like lightning. She grabbed Kiva and pushed her behind Daiwan, then positioned herself at the cave entrance ready to strike. Daiwan pulled Kiva close, his body once again a shield even though he had no weapons. A Valthine scout appeared at the entrance. He was young, his armor bearing the marks of a junior rank. His eyes widened when he saw them. A human and Lyrana together. His hand went to his communication device. Lyrana did not hesitate. She struck before he could transmit a message. The fight was brief and brutal. The scout was trained, but Lyrana fought with desperate fury. Within seconds, he lay dead at her feet. The silence that followed was heavy with meaning. Lyrana stared down at the body of her fellow soldier. She had just killed one of her own people. For a human, there was no going back from this. "They will call you a traitor," Daiwan said quietly. Lyrana did not turn around. "I know. Why? Why would you do this for me?" She finally looked back at him, her eyes fierce. "Because you took blows for Kiva. Because you chose mercy over survival. Because you showed me that humans can be more than the monsters I was taught to fear." She took a shaky breath. "And because Kiva loves you. She has not smiled since her father died until you came." Kiva, still pressed against Daiwan's side, spoke in Valthine. Lyrana closed her eyes briefly. "What did she say?" Daiwan asked. "She asked if you are leaving us. She asked if you are her family now." Lyrana's voice was rough with emotion. I did not know how to answer her. Before Daiwan could respond, more sounds came from outside. Multiple voices. Human voices. His squad had found the cave. "Daiwan!" Taemin's shout echoed off the rocks. "If you are alive, respond!" Daiwan moved to the entrance, Lyrana tensing beside him. "Here, I am here!" Footsteps rushed closer. Taemin appeared first, rifle raised, followed by 3 other squad members. They stopped abruptly when they saw the scene. Daiwan, battered and bandaged, a dead Valthine scout, and Lyrana standing protectively between them and Kiva. Taemin's rifle swung toward Lyrana. "Step away from him now!" "No," Daiwan said firmly. "Lower your weapons. She is not a threat." "Not a threat?" Taemin's voice was incredulous. "That is a Valthine warrior, and there is a dead soldier at her feet." He was trying to report our position. She stopped him. "She saved us." "Us?" Taemin's eyes narrowed. Then he saw Kiva peeking out from behind Daiwan. You are protecting enemy civilians? Have you lost your mind? Maybe, Day One admitted. But I am not leaving them. The standoff stretched. Taemin's finger hovered near his trigger. Lyrana remained perfectly still, but Day One could see the tension in her body. She was ready to fight, even though she would not survive against 4 armed humans. Kiva broke the silence. She stepped out from behind Day One, placed herself between her mother and the human soldiers, and spoke in her careful, practiced human words. Please, no hurt. Ha, friend. He saved me. The simple words from a child's mouth cut through the tension like a knife. Taemin's expression shifted from anger to confusion to something softer. She speaks our language? He taught her, Lyrana said through the translator. He has shown her kindness. More kindness than her own military showed her. What does that mean? Another squad member asked. Day One explained quickly. The patrol that had tried to kill Kiva because she was wounded. How he had shielded her. How Lyrana had saved them both. Taemin listened, his face growing darker with each word. When Day One finished, the squad leader was silent for a long moment. Finally, he lowered his rifle. This is insane, he muttered. Command will never approve this. Then do not tell them, Day One said. Say you found me alone. Say the Valthine got away. And what will you do? Desert become a traitor like her? If that is what it takes to keep them safe, yes. Taemin stared at him like he was seeing a stranger. You would throw away everything for an enemy and her child? She is not my enemy, Day One said firmly. Not anymore. Before anyone could respond, explosions rocked the ground. A Valthian attack force had engaged human positions nearby. The war had caught up with them. We need to move, one of the squad members shouted. This whole area is about to become a combat zone. More explosions. Closer now. Through the cave entrance, Day One could see flashes of weapons fire lighting the gray sky. Lyrana grabbed Kiva and pulled her close. We will slow you down. Go, save yourselves. No, Taemin said sharply. Everyone looked at him in surprise. He shook his head, looking frustrated with himself. If Day One trusts you, and if you really saved him, then I am not leaving any of you behind. He looked at his squad. Anyone have a problem with that? The soldiers exchanged glances. One shrugged. I did not become a soldier to kill children. If the kid needs protecting, we protect her. Agreed, another said. The third soldier, a young woman named Hana, looked at Kiva and smiled slightly. She reminds me of my niece, same age. Same brave face when she is scared. Taemin nodded. Then we moved together. Stay close and stay quiet. The extraction point is 2 kilometers north. If we can reach it before, a blast hit the hillside above them. Rocks rained down. The cave entrance began to collapse. Out! Now, Taemin shouted. They ran. Lyrana carried Kiva, moving with fluid speed even burdened by her daughter's weight. Day One pushed his injured body to keep pace. The squad formed a protective formation around them. They emerged into chaos. Human and Valthine forces were engaged in heavy combat across the ruins. Explosions lit up the morning. The air filled with the sound of weapons fire and shouted orders. A Valthine squad spotted them. They opened fire immediately, not at the humans but at Lyrana. They were shooting at one of their own. They know, Lyrana gasped as they dove for cover. They know I killed the scout. They will not let me live. The squad returned fire, providing covering fire. But more Valthine were coming, drawn by the engagement. They were surrounded. Day One saw it happen in slow motion. A Valthine soldier got a clear shot. Not at him. At Lyrana. The energy weapon charged, aimed at her head. He moved without thinking. His body crashed into hers, sending them both tumbling as the shot went wide. But he had been too slow. The blast caught his shoulder, burning through his uniform and into flesh. Pain exploded through him. He gasped, his vision going white. But he had done it. He had saved her. Lyrana's face appeared above him, her expression twisted with anguish. You foolish human. Why do you keep doing this? Because I care, Day One managed through gritted teeth. Because you matter. Because Kiva needs you. Something shifted in her eyes, something deep and profound. But there was no time to explore it. Taemin was shouting orders, organizing a retreat. Together, humans and one rogue Valthine fought their way through the chaos. Kiva clung to her mother, her face buried against Lyrana's shoulder. Day One stumbled, his wounded shoulder bleeding badly. Hana supported him, half carrying him as they ran. They reached the extraction point just as the dropship arrived. The pilot's eyes went wide when he saw Lirana, but Taemin was already shoving everyone aboard. "Fly," he shouted. "Before they shoot us down." The dropship lifted off, leaving the battlefield behind. Through the open door, Daewon watched the ruins disappear below. Somewhere down there, both armies were still fighting, still killing each other. But up here in this small ship, enemies sat side by side, wounded and exhausted, but alive together. The refugee station floated in neutral space between territories, a converted mining platform that now housed the forgotten casualties of war. Humans and Valthene who had fled the fighting lived here together, not in harmony exactly, but in exhausted coexistence. They had all lost too much to keep hating. Daewon sat in the medical bay, watching a human doctor treat his shoulder wound while a Valthene medic supervised. The two medical professionals had learned to work together here, sharing knowledge that their governments kept classified. Burns like his, caused by Valthene energy weapons, healed better with a combination of both species' treatments. Across the room, Lirana held Kiva as another doctor checked the child. The little girl had grown quieter since their escape, the trauma of everything she had witnessed settling in. But she refused to be separated from either her mother or Daewon. Taemin entered the medical bay, his face grim. "We have a problem." Daewon looked up. "What kind of problem?" "The kind where both our militaries know we are here. The kind where they are calling us all traitors and deserters." Taemin ran a hand through his hair. "My squad is listed as AWOL. You are listed as a prisoner collaborating with the enemy. And he looked at Lirana. "Her government has issued an execution order. Traitor to the Valthene people." Lirana's expression did not change, but Daewon saw her hold Kiva a little tighter. "There is more," Taemin continued. He pulled out a data tablet. "I've been talking to some people here. Refugees who used to work in government positions. Military contractors. Engineers. They have been sharing information, putting pieces together." He handed the tablet to Daewon. "You need to see this." Daewon read through the files, his confusion growing into disbelief, then into cold anger. Documents, communications, financial records, all carefully hidden, but refugees had stolen bits and pieces when they fled. The war had been manufactured, started deliberately by weapons companies on both sides. A Valthene corporation had staged the attack on the human colony that killed Daewon's sister. A human corporation had sabotaged the Valthene convoy that killed Lirana's mate. All to create hatred, to ensure the war continued, to keep profits flowing. "This cannot be real," Daewon whispered. "They would not." "They would," an old human man said, shuffling over. He had worked as an analyst for military intelligence before fleeing. "I helped compile some of this data. The pattern is clear. Every time peace talks start to succeed, there is a convenient attack. Always just deadly enough to reignite hatred. Always blamed on the other side." "But thousands have died," Lirana said, her voice hollow. She had come over to read the tablet, her face growing paler with each document. "My mate died for profit? For nothing? For worse than nothing," a Valthene engineer added, joining them. She was old. Her silver hair faded to white. "You died for a lie. Your children orphaned for a lie. Your homes destroyed for a lie." Daewon thought of Haya Jin, his baby sister who wanted to be a teacher, who died afraid and alone in a shelter that should have protected her, but had failed due to mysterious malfunctions in the defense system. Malfunctions that now looked deliberate. "They murdered her," he said quietly. "My sister. They murdered her on purpose just to start this war." Lirana reached out slowly and took his hand. No words, just contact. Shared grief and rage. Kiva looked up at the adults around her, confused by the heavy emotions but sensing something important was happening. She tugged on her mother's arm. "Mama, what wrong?" Lirana knelt down, pulling her daughter close. She spoke in Valthene, words too fast for the translator to catch clearly, but Daewon saw tears on her face, the first tears he had seen her shed. He knelt beside them, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. His hand touched Kiva's silver hair gently. "Everything will be okay," he promised, though he was not sure he believed it. Kiva looked between her mother and the human who had protected her. Then, with the simple wisdom of children, she wrapped her arms around both of them. A small bridge connecting two people who should have been enemies. Over the next days, Daewon and Lirana studied the documents obsessively. Taemin and the other squad members helped, along with refugee volunteers who had expertise in various fields. They built a complete picture of the conspiracy. Names, dates, transactions, proof that would be impossible to deny. Late one night, Day One found Lirana alone on an observation deck, staring out at the stars. Kiva was asleep in their shared quarters, finally resting peacefully. "We could broadcast this," Day One said quietly, joining her. "Send it to every news outlet, every government channel. Expose the truth." "They would kill us before we could finish the transmission," Lirana replied. "Both militaries will do anything to keep this secret. Then we make sure the transmission cannot be stopped. We use the station's communication array, route it through so many relays that they cannot block them all." Lirana was silent for a long moment. "If we do this, there is no going back. We become targets forever. We are already targets." "True." She glanced at him, her violet eyes reflecting starlight. "You have lost everything for us. Your squad, your career, your place in human society, and now you want to risk your life again?" "I already risked my life for Kiva. This is just continuing that choice." "Why?" The question burst from her, raw and desperate. "Why do you care so much? She is not your child. I am not your mate. We are not your people." Day One was quiet, trying to find the right words. "When I held Kiva and those soldiers were beating me, I was not thinking about politics or species or war. I was just thinking that she deserved to live. That she deserved to grow up and be happy and see the stars and learn things and laugh." He looked at Lirana, "And when you killed those soldiers to protect her, I saw a mother's love. It looked exactly like my own mother's love. Like every mother's love across every species. So you see us as, what, the same as humans? No, you are, Valthine. You have your own culture, your own way of thinking. But you love your child the way humans love their children. You feel grief the way we feel grief. You want peace the way we want peace." He smiled slightly. "The important things are the same. Everything else is just details." Lirana reached out and took his hand again. This time the touch lingered. Her cooler skin against his warmer flesh. Different biology. Same meaning. "In Valthine culture," she said softly, "there are different kinds of bonds. Kithva is family by choice, by sacrifice. But there is another word. Testar. It means heart chosen. One who sees your soul and accepts all of it." Day One's breath caught. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that you are Deshtar to me. I am saying that when you took that blast meant for me, when you keep choosing us over everything else." She stopped, struggling with the words. "I am saying that what I feel for you is not just gratitude." "Lirana, let me finish." Her grip on his hand tightened. "I know this is complicated. I know humans and Valthine do not pair. I know we are from different worlds with different ways. But I also know that when I see you with Kiva, when I watch you teach her words and make her laugh, my heart feels things I thought died with my mate." Day One turned to face her fully. "I care about you too. More than I should, probably. More than makes sense," he smiled. "But I have stopped trying to make sense of any of this." They stood there, hands joined, looking at each other. Two people from enemy species who had found something unexpected in the middle of war. A small voice interrupted them. "Mama, Day One?" They turned to find Kiva standing in the doorway, rubbing her eyes sleepily.
"Why you out here?"
"I wake up and you gone." Lirana moved quickly to scoop up her daughter. "I am sorry, little star. We were just talking." Kiva yawned. "Talking room? Stay together?" "Yes," Lirana agreed. "We stay together." As they walked back to their quarters, Kiva reached out and grabbed Day One's hand with her free hand, connecting the three of them. "We family now?" she asked in her careful human words. "You might—" "What word? Father?" Day One felt his throat tighten with emotion. He looked at Lirana, who nodded slightly. "If you want me to be," he said gently. "I would be honored to be your family, Kiva." The little girl beamed, that beautiful smile that made everything worth it. "Good, now we sleep. Tomorrow we stop bad people, yes?" "Yes," Day One agreed. "Tomorrow we stop the bad people." Together they entered their small quarters. Kiva settled between them, her small body relaxed and trusting. Within minutes she was asleep again, her breathing soft and even. Lirana and Day One lay awake longer, not touching except where Kiva connected them, but aware of each other in the darkness. They had found something precious and impossible, a family formed not by blood or law, but by choice and sacrifice and love that transcended species. Tomorrow they would fight to expose the truth. They would risk everything to end this manufactured war. But tonight they were just a mother, a child, and the human who had taken the blows meant for her. A family, against all odds, against all reason, perfect. The alarm started at dawn. Red lights flooded the refugee station as sensors detected incoming ships. Military vessels, both human and Valthine. They were coming to silence the truth before it could spread. Daewon ran through the corridors with Lyrana beside him, Kiva clutched in her mother's arms. Taemin was already at the communication center, working frantically with the station's technicians. "How long until we can broadcast?" Daewon demanded. 10 minutes to route through enough relays, a Valthine engineer answered. "But they will be here in 5. "Then we hold them for 5 minutes, Lyrana said grimly. The station shook as weapons fire hit the outer shields. Through the viewports, Daewon could see both fleets approaching, human destroyers on one side, Valthine cruisers on the other. For once, the two enemies were working together, united in their desire to keep their secret. Refugees scrambled to defensive positions. There were not many weapons on the station, but everyone who could fight grabbed something. Humans and Valthine worked side by side, preparing to defend their sanctuary. Kiva clung to Lyrana's neck, her eyes wide with fear. "Mama, I scared." Lyrana held her daughter close, her voice steady despite the terror Daewon could see in her eyes. "I know, little star, but we are going to stop the bad people, the ones who took your father, the ones who hurt so many families." "Daewon stop them too?" "Yes," Daewon promised, kneeling beside them. "I will protect you both." No matter what, more impacts rocked the station. The shields would not hold long against a combined fleet. Taemin shouted from the communication center. "They are hailing us, demanding we power down and surrender the files." "Stall them," Daewon called back. A face appeared on the main view screen. Commander Thelvas, the Valthine officer who had ordered Kiva's execution. His scarred face was cold with rage. "Lyrana," he said, his voice carrying through the station, "you have betrayed your people. Your mate would be ashamed." Lyrana stepped forward, her body trembling with fury. "My mate would be ashamed of you. You murdered him. You staged that attack to start this war." Thelvas's expression did not change. "I did my duty. Sacrifices were necessary to strengthen our people. Necessary." Lyrana's voice broke. "You killed him!" "You tried to kill my daughter. One child's life is nothing compared to the glory of the Valthine Empire." Before anyone could stop her, Lyrana grabbed a communication unit. "You want to know what glory looks like? It looks like the human who shielded my daughter with his body, who took blows meant to kill her, who sacrificed everything to protect a child who was not even his species." She gestured to Daewon. "That is honor. That is strength. Not your manufactured war and murdered innocents." Silence fell across the channel. On both the human and Valthine ships, soldiers heard her words, heard the pain and truth in her voice. Then Thelvas smiled coldly. "Touching, but irrelevant. You will all die, and the truth will die with you." The channel cut. The bombardment intensified. 3 minutes. The technician called out. The station shuddered. Hull breaches were being reported. Refugees were fighting desperately, but they were losing. There were too many enemy ships. Daewon made a decision. "I'm going to challenge him." Lyrana grabbed his arm. "What?" "Valthine honor law. I challenge Thelvas to single combat. He cannot refuse without losing face in front of his entire fleet. He will kill you. You are injured, and he is one of our best warriors. Maybe, but it will buy time." Daewon looked at Kiva, then back at Lyrana. "Time for you to send the truth. Time for our family to matter." Tears filled Lyrana's eyes. "You stupid brave human. This is not your battle." "Yes, it is. It became my battle the moment I chose to protect Kiva." He touched her face gently. "I love you. Both of you. That makes this my battle." Before she could argue, he opened a channel to Thelvas. "I am Daewon Kim, human combat medic. By Valthine honor law, I challenge you to single combat, unless you are afraid to face an injured human in fair fight." The taunt worked. Thelvas's face appeared again, twisted with rage. "You dare invoke our honor laws? I dare. Do you accept or do you admit cowardice before your warriors?" Thelvas could not refuse. Not without looking weak. "I accept. We will dock. You have 10 minutes to prepare." The bombardment stopped. Daewon turned to find everyone staring at him. Lyrana looked devastated. Taemin looked resigned. The refugees looked at him like he was insane. "You just committed suicide," Taemin said quietly. "Maybe, but now you have time to complete the broadcast." Day-Wan looked at the technician. How long now? 7 minutes. If you can last 7 minutes, I will last, Day-Wan promised. Lyrina pulled him aside, Kiva still in her arms. There must be another way. There is not. You know it. He looked at Kiva, who was crying quietly. Hey, little star. Do not cry. You going to fight? You going to die? Maybe, but maybe not. Your mother taught you about Valthian warriors, right? How they never give up. Kiva nodded through her tears. Well, humans are the same. We do not give up. We do not quit. We keep fighting even when we should not win. He smiled. That is what makes us human. We are too stubborn to know when we are beaten. But he big. He strong. True, but I'm smart. And I am fighting for you. He touched her silver hair gently. That makes me strong too. A docking tube connected to the station. Thelvis entered with an honor guard, all armed and armored. They moved to the station's central hub, a large open space. Refugees gathered around, forming a circle. The rules were clear. Single combat, to the death or surrender. Day-Wan stood in the center, his injured shoulder aching. He had no armor, only his medical training and his desperate need to buy time. Thelvis entered the circle. He was massive, easily a head taller than Day-Wan and twice as broad. His muscles rippled under his scaled skin. He drew a blade, traditional for honor duels. Last chance to surrender, human, Thelvis said. No. They circled each other. Day-Wan watched carefully, looking for patterns in Thelvis's movement. The commander was confident, almost bored. He expected an easy kill. Thelvis struck first, a powerful overhead swing. Day-Wan dodged barely. The blade whistled past his head. He countered with a quick strike to the commander's side, but it bounced off the tough scales. They traded blows. Day-Wan dodged and weaved, using his smaller size and human flexibility. But he was tiring fast. His injuries slowed him. Blood seeped through his bandages. 5 minutes, Taman called out. Thelvis smiled cruelly. You last longer than expected, but you are dying anyway. He attacked with renewed fury. Day-Wan blocked, but the force drove him to his knees. Thelvis's blade came down toward his head. Lyrina's scream echoed through the hub. No! She threw herself into the circle, breaking the honor duel. It was forbidden. It meant she would be killed too. But she did not care. Her claws found Thelvis's face, tearing deep grooves. The commander roared in pain and rage, throwing her aside. She hit the ground hard but rolled to her feet, placing herself between Thelvis and Day-Wan. If you want him, you go through me, she snarled. Thelvis laughed. So be it. I will kill you both. He advanced on them. Day-Wan struggled to stand, moving to fight beside Lyrina. Together they faced the commander. Injured, exhausted, but not beaten. They moved as one, their time together creating instinct. Day-Wan went low while Lyrina went high. She raked his face while Day-Wan swept his legs. Thelvis stumbled. 3 minutes. They pressed the attack. Lyrina's speed and Day-Wan's tactical mind worked together. Thelvis was stronger, but they fought with the desperation of parents protecting their child. Day-Wan took a blade across his ribs. Lyrina was thrown against a wall, but they kept fighting. 2 minutes. Thelvis was bleeding now too, his movements slower. He had not expected them to last this long, had not expected them to fight so well together. 1 minute. The commander made a last desperate attack, his blade aimed at Day-Wan's heart. Lyrina threw herself in front of it. The blade went through her shoulder, missing her heart by inches. Day-Wan caught her as she fell. His vision went red with rage. He grabbed Thelvis's blade and twisted with all his remaining strength. The commander lost his grip. With the blade in hand, Day-Wan faced Thelvis. Surrender! Never! Broadcast complete! The technician shouted. It's transmitting on all frequencies. Every planet, every ship, every news outlet. Silence fell. On the view screens, they could see the files appearing on communication networks across human and Valthian space. The truth spreading like fire. Thelvis's face went pale. He had lost. The truth was out. Then chaos erupted on the communication channels. Human voices, Valthian voices, civilians on both sides seeing the proof, seeing the manufactured attacks, seeing the names of those responsible. Riots started on both homeworlds. Soldiers on the attack ships began refusing orders. Some ships were breaking formation, their crews demanding answers. The war was ending, not with victory but with truth. Medics rushed to help Lyrina. Day-Wan collapsed beside her, his strength finally gone. Kiva ran to them, crying but safe. In the days that followed, the conspiracy crumbled. Those responsible were arrested. Peace negotiations began immediately, both populations demanding an end to the manufactured conflict. Day1 and Lyrana recovered slowly, side by side in the medical bay. Kiva never left them, sleeping between their beds. When they were well enough to stand, they watched news reports together. The war was over. Really over. Borders were being opened. Mixed settlements discussed. A new future emerging. What will we do now? Lyrana asked quietly. Day1 took her hand. Whatever we want, together. Kiva tugged on both their arms. Can we get a home? Real home, all together? Day1 and Lyrana looked at each other. Something passed between them, warm and certain. Yes, Lyrana said. A real home. A family home. With garden? Kiva asked hopefully. And place for human and Valthine friends to visit? With everything you want, little star, Day1 promised. Months later, they stood in front of a small house on a neutral world. A place where humans and Valthine were building a community together. Learning from each other. Creating something new. Kiva ran through the garden laughing and chasing butterflies. Lyrana leaned against Day1, his arm around her waist. Her people had eventually accepted their bonding, seeing them as symbols of the peace. Are you happy? Lyrana asked. Day1 looked at his family, his impossible, beautiful, perfect family. Yes, are you? More than I ever thought possible, she smiled. You know, in Valthine culture, we believe every soul has a purpose. A reason they exist. And what is your purpose? This. She gestured to Kiva, to their home, to the peaceful world around them. You, her, us. This was always meant to be. Maybe, Day1 agreed. Or maybe we just chose it. Made it happen through stubborn human determination and fierce Valthine love. Both, Lyrana decided. It is both. Kiva ran back to them, her arms full of flowers. For you, she announced. Human tradition. Give flowers to people you love. They took the flowers and Kiva wrapped her arms around both of them, a child of two worlds, the bridge that had brought enemies together. Day1 had taken the blows for an enemy's child, had risked everything for a little girl who was not his species, and in return he had gained something more precious than peace. He had gained a family, and that in the end was worth everything.